Greetings, fellow tarnished. Don't you just love how FromSoftware RPGs have the most dour and horrific worlds? They're so depressing. I love it. Thankfully, the world of Elden Ring is no exception, containing some of the most unsettling areas to date. So let's count down those special spots in the lands between that make my skin crawl the most, for the fun of it. I'm just as chuffed as chips, but before we get started, I want to make it clear that I'm going to be focusing primarily on levels that are unsettling even without the help of their nightmarish inhabitants. They're really just the icing on the cake. With that said, let's get to it. Number 10. Elden Ring is packed with those wow moments that stick in your mind right from the first playthrough. One such moment is the first time that I took Torrent across Limgrave and caught sight of a walking mausoleum. I was stunned at the size of this thing. It was clearly much larger than anything I had encountered up until this point in the game. It was even bigger than the trolls. As I moved closer to the walking mausoleum, I could hear the ominous thundering bell that was hanging from beneath it. And then as I got a little bit closer, it finally hit me. This thing was not alive. At that moment, a wave of dread washed over me as I tried to process exactly what the hell I was even looking at. Once you get close to one of these mausoleums, you'll notice that in various places located on them, they have these clusters of skulls. Once enough of these are destroyed, the mausoleum will drop to the ground, its legs will collapse, and then if you decide to explore the outside of it, you will locate a door that will allow you in. So this is definitely not a living creature. Once you go inside of the mausoleum, you will notice that there is a corpse laying on a slab of concrete, and once you activate it, it will give you the opportunity to copy a remembrance. Literally everything about these things is disturbing to me. The way that their enormous legs shake the ground, the ominous thundering of the bell that hangs below it, and the fact that the skulls all over the structure that are causing it to move give me the idea that some sort of dark magic is responsible for all this. A lot of the times, if I'm not actually in the market for copying a remembrance right then, I may actually leave these things alone and let them continue walking around the lands between, because personally, I think the area and the world is just a little bit more lively and creepy with them in it. Number 9. In the world of Elden Ring, there are lots of creepy places, but for those who suffer from pupophobia, this might actually be the most frightening area in the entire game. I, however, do not have this phobia, but I still find it pretty unnerving. And why is that? Well, it's because some crazy asshole decided to go around turning people into puppets and filling his basement with said puppets. Stumbling onto Saluvus's puppet basement is quite the change up from the hidden areas you will find below the ruins in Elden Ring. And as an added bonus, if you give his potion to Nephili, you will also find her here in her new form. Creepy. Number 8. If you take out Storbrand Moog in the subterranean shunning grounds, you get access to a hidden door that takes you to one of the most unsettling areas in the whole game. Ah yes, the Forsaken Depths. This area is dark, creepy, quiet, and the floors are carpeted with the dead, most of whom appear to have died in a really horrible way. You can, however, encounter a few people who are still alive, and they will attack you on sight with frenzy incantations. This leads me to my theory that all of these people are sealed away down here because of their devotion to the three fingers. And finally, when talking about this area, I have to bring up the really chill guys who don't attack you. They just sit down playing some strange stringed instrument and are quite possibly some of the coolest guys I've ever encountered in any of these FromSoftware RPGs. I do have to say though, that the way they sit there all zoned out and playing that mournful tune is pretty creepy. Also, some of them play Gurman's tune from Bloodborne. Badass. Number 7. Mohg's Arena is one of those places that is homogeneous with the area surrounding it, but it's got that one little detail that gets underneath my skin. Obviously, I am talking about Miquella's egg, which is sitting at the end of the arena. He's got that arm, that shriveled up arm just hanging out of the egg, and it just brings up so many questions in my mind. Questions which are very conducive to horror and being disturbed. For one, we don't get to see what Miquella actually looks like. That's all left to our imagination. You'll notice in the cutscene of the Mohg fight that we do see blood actually draining out of Miquella's body, which is what Mohg emerges from. So this leads me to believe that Miquella is still alive in some sort of capacity. Finally, I gotta say, the more you know about the relationship between Miquella and Mohg, the more creeped out you'll probably be here. Number 6. There are a few things that give Raya Lucaria its spine-chilling reputation. One of these would be the cemetery that you must go through on your way to the end of the level. Most of the cemeteries in Elden Ring are pretty well lit, and this one is super dark and scary, and it's full of zombies. Perfect. Next is the heavy concentration of spellcasters who happen to wear this really large, unsettling piece of headgear. Whoops, wait a minute. How did that get there? That's not the right headpiece. I mean, this headpiece. Sorry, my mistake. They just look so similar. And the final feature of Raya Lucaria that really makes my skin crawl, that would be the scholars who join Renala in the boss fight. You know, the ones that crawl around on the ground. Just look at how creepy these people are. Just look at that face. Oh yeah, and that singing. Oh shoot, I forgot there's one more thing, and that is actually its ambient music score. Pretty creepy, right? People don't really say this anymore, but I would have to say that in regards to this place, my jimmies have thoroughly been rustled. Number 5, the Altus Plateau. Aren't those beautiful autumn vistas absolutely breathtaking? They absolutely are. That is, until you reach Damanula. So, you say, Damanula, what exactly is that? Well, don't worry. That's just your suppressed trauma blocking out the memories of staring into the unblinking rictus of these creepy women who dance around in this village. If you're not already creeped out looking at these ladies, then take a good look at their mouth. You see that? That's strawberry jelly. And that implies that they don't eat grape jelly. I shudder to think of what kind of sick, twisted cult could participate in such deviant behavior as to not let their people eat grape jelly. Also, there's a guy who is a ghost in the front of the village begging to not have his skin ripped off. Yep. Number 4. Stormveil Castle does not initially hit you as a place that is especially creepy. And that, my little sweeties, is because Stormveil Castle likes to hide its creepy deep within its bowels. If you're thinking about the situation where you get locked in the room with the big scary knight with the fart magic, that's not what I'm talking about. That's traumatic, it's terrifying, but it's not creepy. If you're looking for creepy, then you don't need to look any further than the room where we locate the grafted scion. You got body parts hanging from the ceiling. You got body parts on the floor. You got a big pile of corpses in this one room. That, folks, is what we call environmental storytelling. Everything about this area implies that some really messed up crap has been going on here. And if you manage to get a good vantage point at the grafted scion, you can tell that it's made out of multiple body parts. And this is probably where it was created. It's also really neat that this grafting area provides a little foreshadowing as to the lord of this castle. And if there's anything that's more creepy than the implied body horror that you find in the grafting room, it would undoubtedly be what you find in the basement of the castle. And no, I am not talking about the tree spirit who jump scares the living ass out of you as soon as you enter the area. I am talking about what you find at the end of the room. Yeah, that's a face. A horrific, disturbing, giving me the chills kind of face. Right next to it, you'll find an item called the Prince of Death's Pustule. The description on this item will tell you that this is the visage of Godwin, the Prince of Death. And now, I look forward to many, many nights of seeing this face in my nightmares. Number 3. When Melina first transports you to Round Table Hold, it seems like a relatively chill place. You know, it's got the usual cast of characters that you find in games like this in the hub zones, including a few sketchy dickheads. I didn't actually start getting weird vibes until I looked over that railing across from where Rozier sits, and if you look down, you see all these blood stains. What's up with that? Looking at the fall, it doesn't look like it's far enough to kill you. So, there's gotta be something dangerous down there. Also, when you first get to Round Table Hold, there will be a couple of rooms that you do not have the ability to access. But once you reach Leyndell, there will be a room right past the Twin Maiden husks that you can access. Once you go in here, you're in for quite a surprise. Whereas the rest of Round Table Hold is pristinely maintained and furnished, this room is littered with decaying corpses. And the centerpiece of this mystery, nasty horror room is a red phantom invader who doesn't hurt you. He doesn't even try to get up. He just sits there, saying the most vile things. This is the loathsome Dung Eater, one of the most hideous characters that FromSoftware has ever created. Needless to say, this freak helps really raise the creep factor in Round Table Hold, which should be a hub and a place of peace and relaxation. Finally, let's talk about the hold itself. So, when Melina first transports you to the hold, did you ever think, why didn't she just mark it on my map? Why do I have to be teleported to this place? Now, things make a little bit more sense once you reach Leyndell, because after exploring pretty thoroughly, you will discover Round Table Hold? What? Yeah, after making this discovery, that little hamster wheel in my head started turning a little bit. This discovery led me to doing a little bit of theorizing of my own. And that, my friends, is why it is now time for me to say, hello, my name is Trey, and now it's time to prepare to cry. Long ago, Leyndell was a beautiful and majestic city. Round Table Hold was a place where the great champions would meet. They would converge, have fellowship, and most importantly, commune with the two fingers. This was to receive the message of the greater will. But that was before the shattering. After the dispersal of the shards of the Elden Ring, war decimated the land. The hold was abandoned, and its desolate hole serving as a sad, somber reminder of the pathetic state of the world. Much is in the way that a lot of areas in Elden Ring are scary and also sad. I would say that Round Table Hold is creepy and sad. The haven where we converse with Gideon and we get the blacksmith to upgrade our weapons might seem like a really cool place to be, but it is actually just a fabrication. It's a mere reflection of an actual place that exists, but not as it currently is, as it once was. The round table hold that we spend so much time in is effectively a ghost of the round table from days past. And finally, when the Erd tree is finally set aflame, round table hold goes up in flames, giving us the final puzzle piece to where we have been the entire time. See, I told you this place was creepy. Number 2. Years ago, Kojima Productions tested our sanity by creating a demo that put us in a house with repeating rooms and scenery. This remains one of the most disturbing gaming experiences of my entire life, and FromSoftware thought it would be fun to make the Elden Ring equivalent of this in the form of the Leyndell Catacombs. The main difference between these two is the fact that PT is presented as a horror game, so all the weird, unsettling, crazy stuff, it's kind of expected. The Leyndell Catacombs, however, are the only catacombs in the entire game that are set up this way. So when you start seeing rooms looping and looking exactly like the area that you just left, you effectively start thinking that your mind is playing tricks on you. And this is a very meta quality that creeps me out in a way that other video games just can't do. In fact, I don't think I've ever had a game screw with my mind this much, making me think I'm actually going crazy, since Eternal Darkness on the GameCube. Before we get to the number 1 creepiest area in all of Elden Ring, let's do a couple of honorable creepy mentions. While exploring the world of Elden Ring on the back of Super Good Boy Torrent, it is not unusual to locate the odd tower from time to time. What I would call unusual, however, would be that when you approach this one specific tower in Liurnia, a giant Lord of the Rings reference explodes out of the top of it. While this does look totally awesome, it is in fact anything but totally awesome for your character, because as long as you are in view of this frenzy flame, the madness status effect is going to build up. That's right, the status effect is going to build up until the bar completely fills, and then it absolutely pwns your health bar. Wait a minute. A thing way up in the air that's looking at you, and it causes frenzy. Huh. For some reason, I kind of feel like this is referencing more than just Lord of the Rings. Anyway, if you do make it all the way to the tower without dying, you will locate some wonderful yellow-eyed frenzy rats at the base. If you manage to take them out and climb the ladder, you will find a bunch of crazy assholes at the top who are responsible for all of this mess. The first time the frenzy tower started to hit me, I didn't even know it was there. I didn't actually see it right then, so I already got kind of freaked out. But then the fact that you travel there and then you notice that there is some kind of weird frenzy cult up at the top, it just raises a lot of questions, and I'm pretty sure that none of these questions have very pleasant answers. Next, let's talk about abandoned places. You know, abandoned places are generally pretty creepy. And when I rode up to Ordina, Liturgical Town, I could pretty much already tell something was off about this place. There was a creepy green light emanating from certain locations in the town, and it was pretty much completely desolate except for a couple of ghosts. Despite this fact, I could not really shake the feeling that I was not alone here. And that unsettling feeling just kind of hung around with me the entire time I explored the town. But the danger never came until I found the Everjail. The funny thing was, as soon as you go into the Everjail, nothing happens. But if you've ever been in an Everjail, you know that they normally have a really powerful enemy located in it. So this just made the tension build up even more, and I got even more worried and creeped out here. Of course, while you're walking around in Ordina, it doesn't take too long for your paranoia to be justified, because you are going to be victim to one of the best jump scares in the entire game. And that's going to be when the Black Knife Assassin decides to reveal itself, shove its knife right up your taint, and then you have poop in your pants. Of course, once you get to the rooftops, all of this anticipation of the assassins is going to give way more to frustration from all the asshole archers on the top of the buildings who can just decimate your health bar with their stupid magic arrows. But that initial period of coming into the town and not really knowing what to expect, that's pretty creepy. Now let's talk about Starfall Crater. When I first went into Starfall Crater, I kept descending with much trepidation. You can't help but be a little uneasy the whole time you're making your way down the hole, and that fog really doesn't help because it really keeps you from seeing too much in front of you. Let's not forget that the Tomb of the Giants has already told us that lack of vision can pose quite a problem. As you keep proceeding, you will discover that this hole is not just a hole, it leads to an actual city. A city that appears to be abandoned and is way too quiet for comfort. This place is really dark and there is just sparse lighting located in the city, and it really does seem like there's nobody here. And then you locate a silver puddle on the ground. Okay, that thing is alive, okay. And like other blob creatures in FromSoftware games, it creates a big spear to poke you. These, of course, are the mimic tiers, and later on in the level, we will discover that they have the ability to mimic the humanoid shape and will attack you in such fashion. The way the mimic tiers just turn into a human form and attack you like, I don't know, almost like automatons, it's pretty creepy. But I think the creepiest moment in this whole level is when you drop down into this big room and you see the giant metal ball and you're thinking, yeah, I know, the ball's probably some kind of trap. It's gonna roll onto me or whatever. But then when you dodge it and you go the other way, the ball turns around and starts to follow you. And I think the biggest chill ever went up my spine when that happened. And if you end up like getting into one of those areas where it can't actually get to you, it'll like keep trying to get you, and that's just really disturbing to me. All right, you knew I was gonna bring up this one at some point. Caria Manor. Is it creepy or is it frightening? I actually think it's a little bit of both. Well, to be fair, it's probably a lot of both. We all know that the finger creepers are just one of the most terrifying things in gaming, period. But I also think that the really foggy atmosphere and just dark, ominous vibe of Caria Manor really gives it a deeply creepy and unsettling atmosphere, and I like it a lot. Good creep factor. This is definitely one of those areas that makes you feel like you are never safe as long as you are within its walls. All right, guys, it is time for the number one creepiest area in Elden Ring. This may not be the area that creeped you out the most, but I'm gonna tell you, when I started writing this video, I knew that there was one area in this game that got under my skin like nothing else in this game, really. And the creepiest place is actually an area that people brought up to me. And that would happen to be the Deeproot Depths. Now, I don't think the Deeproot Depths is extremely creepy. It doesn't really bother me that much. It just, you know, feels like a typical FromSoft level. That is, until you get to the end and you get to the boss arena. Okay, wait a minute. So what's so crazy about this area? It's just a big flat arena. It's probably the most boring arena, you know, in the whole game. Oh, I don't know. What about the giant freaky ass corpse that's rotting up against the back wall? I mean, what the hell is that? Some kind of freaking sea monkey kaiju? Okay, so if we think back on the face that we saw in the basement of Stormvale Castle, and we think about the description on the item that we found next to it, we will learn that this is Godwyn the Gold One. Or rather, this is Godwyn's corpse. I don't know if he's still golden or not. He is very much covered in flies at this point. The funny thing to me is that when you look at the image in the basement of Stormvale, that looks like a face. It looks like eyes and a nose. But when you see Godwyn's body in this arena, you realize that that is actually like the fan or whatever on top of his head, like a squid or something. So that thing that looks like a face, you know, it's actually upside down, and boy, this just messes with my head. Yes, the corpse of Godwyn the Golden is absolutely the creepiest thing in this whole game. So he's covered in flies, so yes, definitely is decomposing. That's great. But what really pushes this creep factor over the edge for me personally is the fact that if you look at that visual design, this thing doesn't even look like it belongs in Elden Ring. This almost cartoonish looking merman creature, it almost looks like a completely different kind of artist came in with a new visual style just for this one thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. This thing just gives me the heebie-jeebies. So even after killing Fortisax, or Fia's champions, just being in this empty arena looking at this monstrosity, it just makes me so uncomfortable and creeped out. Wow! You made it to the end of the video. You really are fond of listening to me talk about Elden Ring, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd think you had feelings for me. Oh no, dear me. Pretend you didn't hear that. If all that creep from the countdown has got you feeling anxious, then come take shelter in our Discord. Link is down in the video description. If you had a good time watching this video, please don't hesitate to give it a like and share it with a friend that you think will enjoy it as well. Also, if you liked watching this, please don't hesitate to leave a comment and tell me what you liked about the video, or if you just think I'm stupid or a wuss, go ahead and leave a comment about that too. Or if there's just some areas in Elden Ring that you find especially creepy that I forgot about or overlooked, please let me know. Also, if you want to go the extra mile to help support the channel, I'm already set up to receive super thanks, and I have several levels of memberships for the channel that start at only 99 cents a month. These memberships give you early access to new videos, and you also get to use channel exclusive emoji, which are really fun to use during the live streams, but I also just found out you can even use them to comment on videos. Also, I just want to make sure I note that for those of you who have been asking me to set up a Patreon, I have finally got off my lazy ass and done that, and the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Yo, you want to be Elden Lord, you gotta be tough. To be honest, I'm scared as shit. Now here's a little story about all the things that really creep me out playing Elden Ring. I'm usually tough, but I gots to say, these places freak me out in a major way. I was on the back of Torrent, I was riding around, then I met some creepy ladies in a windmill town. Up at the front, that's where I made a friend. He was a ghost who was begging not to lose his skin. Lose his skin? Lose his skin? Lose his skin? He was a ghost who was begging not to lose his skin. It was a magic school. Things were scary. There were zombies all up in the cemetery. But here's the thing that really got me. Everybody working there looked like the Burger King. The Burger King? The Burger King. The Burger King? Everybody working there looked like the Burger King. Down in Mogwin Palace, Things were real rough. There was a psycho trying to hit me with blood. I went up the steps with my own 2 legs and I saw a human arm sticking out of an egg. Sticking out of an egg. Right out of the egg. Sticking out of an egg. I saw a human arm sticking out of the egg. Elden Ring, it's a real fine game. I think people who don't like it are lame. You enjoyed the video? Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you next time.